ठीक है, प्रॉब्लम है. So let's not look at why things will not work. Let's look at how can we make things work. Think positive तो नहीं होता है ना. हर time you can't think positive. You're down in the dumps and you start thinking positive. Positive psychology is not positive thinking. You think positive. Okay? So this is the baseline is 0 and we are at -10 in the way we are, in our mental state. -10 to 0 आएंगे तो great only. We want to move there.
Correct.
Okay, but we are not going to thrive if we are going to be stuck at 0. We need to figure out how we can move from the 0 to +10. Work with that. So working with our strengths is what positive psychology also talks about. It's what the work with character strengths do to people. So when we are actually working with people, this is what makes a person feel better in terms of confidence, in terms of self-esteem, about oneself, and more empowered to or more ready to take on difficult situations. What research shows is that जो पहले ऊपर के जो 5 होते हैं वो इतने नहीं बदलते, the top 5, because they're signature strengths.
So basically you're saying positive psychology is more about knowing yourself more in a way,
yes.
Your characteristics, your core characteristics, and actually using those in all the areas of your life.
Absolutely.
In terms of your relationships, your your job.
Through this exercise, your mind starts getting primed or trained to look for things that are going well. Really ना ये सब चीजें बहुत अच्छी तरह से for anxiety, stress, depression के लिए बहुत काम आते हैं. तो
जब आप किसी को बता देते हो कि ये आपकी strength है, it actually plays subconsciously in a way, and you start doing more of it.
It's a very good way of really achieving our goals. Working with our strengths and not randomly हवा में तीर मारना. Except thriving only is far away. I think the concept of surviving ज़्यादा है. Thriving तो आगे की बात है. तो लोग वहाँ तक पहुँचने के पहले यहाँ रफा दफा कर देते यार surviving ही नहीं हो रहा है, कहाँ thriving करेंगे. But people don't realize that if you do this, you will move from surviving to thriving.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of HappierHour. Today we have with us Gauri Shringarpure. She's a passionate positive psychology practitioner and coach based out of Thane, Mumbai. She brings a strength-based, affirming approach to mental health, supporting individuals from diverse backgrounds. As a skilled gender and sexuality trainer, she has led impactful sessions for colleges and the NSS. She is dedicated to empowering through regular workshops on mental health, self-care, and positive psychology. Her expertise extends to supporting individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism. With over 25 years of experience, she is also a seasoned consumer behavior consultant and researcher, integrating psychological insight into every aspect of her work. Welcome to the show, Gauri.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so today, we are going to talk about positive psychology. And, I would like to start with your journey in terms of what led you towards positive psychology.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to start actually because it is a journey. It's been quite something. Honestly, positive psychology is something that I was not aware of. I mean, usually when we have our training in psychology or psychology related fields or courses, this is touched upon briefly, and so that was never center stage. So uske pehle, if I want to go back a little in time, it's so as a person, and I joke about this a lot, that I am an eternal optimist. So I keep talking about, yaar, matlab kuch bhi ho to let's see how it can work. And my standard line to people it used to be that yaar theek hai, problem hai. So let's not look at why things will not work. Let's look at how can we make things work. So that used to be my standard line. Not everybody used to be, really agreeing to this point of view, but this is what I used to always say. And during that time, and this I'm talking about almost 10-15 years back, and during that time, there wasn't much talk about even, positive psychology to chhodi do, but positivity or talking about how we should be changing our mindset and all of that, but just slowly beginning to make its appearance in spaces. तो उस टाइम तो मैंने ये देखना शुरू किया, पढ़ना शुरू किया, मे बी हियर एंड देयर स्टार्टेड रीडिंग अबाउट पॉजिटिविटी, थिंक पॉजिटिव, दिस दैट एंड अदर. And I mean, of course, I like the word positive. Then I said, what is this rubbish? I mean, think positive तो नहीं होता है ना. हर time you can't think positive. You're down in the dumps and you start thinking positive. So I was grappling with all of that. And then once, I think it must have been, I don't know, there was slightly, that time I was doing a lot of my consumer research work. And I thought that, chalo, hum kuch, ऐसे ही try करते हैं. Somebody spoke about Coursera as a place where you can go and do, courses and good from good universities. So I was just hunting for some courses. And I chanced upon one of these courses of positive psychology. तो पहले तो मुझे लगा कि यार पता नहीं क्या है, but it sounded interesting. तो मैं अंदर जाके थोड़ा सा देखा क्या है. So what I read there really sort of resonated with me a lot, because what they started talking about is the fact that positive psychology is not positive thinking. You think positive. Because the whole understanding of positive psychology was based on the fact that shit will happen in life. I'm sorry about my language, but things will happen in your life. But how do you respond to it? In a way that is empowering for you, is in a way that allows you to grow. That's the way, that is what you need to really think about. So that's why the course seemed very interesting to me. What really struck me was the metaphor that they gave when they were explaining what positive psychology, because I was not too much aware of this. So what they started saying was that imagine a garden, okay, and you have planted your lovely, plants that you want in your garden. अब वो garden को flourish होने के लिए it's not enough to just weed the garden. No? हम बोलेंगे अच्छा weeds are going to impact the plants. Sure, it will. तो weeding की तो जरूरत है ही है. But that's not going to be enough. That's not going to guarantee that the garden is going to flourish. So we need to do the rest of the things as well. Like whatever, enough of sunshine, just right water, maybe a little bit of whatever manure, fertilizer, enough tending to be done so that flourishing will happen. So, and that is what positive psychology is about. It is about going beyond the weeding. So we cannot say that अरे चलो अभी depression के symptoms चले गए, वो anxiety चली गई, इसका मतलब you suddenly started from next couple of weeks you're going to flourish and become like this thriving person. So that's when I started thinking, oh my God, this is so much that I'm hearing here which is aligning with my thought process, because it is up until now, all we have been thinking about when we are thinking psychology is all negative stuff. How to fix anxiety हो गई, depression हो गया, stress हो गया, I cannot think, overwhelm हो गया, ये सब चीजें. And now suddenly we are also looking at the other side, which will make the entire study of the mind sort of complete. And that's really what got to me, and that's how I started with that course. And of course, then again, whatever happened is history.
This is very interesting that, it is not only about positive thinking कि बस अच्छा सोचते रहो, and it's not, just weeding out from those plants is not enough. It's actually something else. It's more about, creating that environment, just, making sure, everything is given to the plant to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. They said they do talk about this, right? I mean, that's another way that they actually talk about positive psychology. And positive psychology as a field is very nascent, actually. I think in the late 1990s is when they actually started talking about this. So what they say is, okay, so this is the baseline is 0 and we are at -10 in the way we are, in our mental state. -10 to 0 आएंगे, तो great only. We want to move there.
Correct.
Okay, but we are not going to thrive if we are going to be stuck at 0. We need to figure out how we can move from the 0 to +10. And the 0 to +10 is what positive psychology focuses on also. It does not disregard the -10 to 0. So don't get me wrong. People think that, okay, I mean, what does that mean? That, we do not have to look at all of that. Obviously, we have to look at that. But to actually look at an organism or an individual to actually flourish or thrive, we need to look at how we can move the person from 0 to +10. -10 to 0 तो बहुत लोग काम करे. Everybody, I mean, the entire psychology field itself is working to, move people from -10 to 0. 0 to 10, +10 तक कैसे जाए बहुत कम लोग सोचते हैं. And that's where this entire field started, sort of talking about this. So yeah, that's the whole thing.
इंटरेस्टिंग. तो पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी में आता क्या क्या है, मतलब हाउ डू समवन गोज फ्रॉम 0 to 10?
हाँ, तो अभी जस्ट टू पुट इट थोड़ा सा सिंपली, there are a lot of things. I mean, one of course is that they have a different frameworks, and so just to say positive psychology में एक term भी use करते हैं. We also call it science of happiness. Okay, so science of happiness and well-being. तो 0 to +10 के जाने के लिए there are certain things that need to be aligned. Okay, so going back, the person who actually started all of this is a psychologist, American, called Dr. Martin Seligman. Now, he and many others, they really worked, I mean, for a long time. There was long studies, and they started actually studying not just people, but they studied scripture, they studied literature, they studied cultures, all of that, and then they came up with certain concepts. One of them being something that they call PERMA. PERMA is PERMA. It's an acronym. PERMA is, P stands for positive emotions, E is engagement, R is positive relationships, M is meaning, and A is achievement and accomplishment. So to sort of make it easy to understand, in order for us to sort of feel happy or experience happiness or a sense of well-being, if at least 3 of these are relatively well placed, you will start feeling, more sense of happiness, more sense of accomplishment, more sense of satisfaction, contentment. Yeah. So positive emotions is stuff like, maybe joy, cheerfulness, satisfaction, content, all of that. So things that make us feel good from within is positive emotions. So anything that you do which will generate this is positive emotions. Yeah. Engagement is actually doing things and getting involved in it. So I don't know whether you heard this. I mean, that's been talked about a lot these days. This term called flow. So, and we also say we are in the zone and it's in a flow में हम लोग कर रहे हैं. तो हम तो ये बहुत easily use करते हैं as a term. But अगर उस flow को आजकल बहुत study किया जा रहा है. तो what is it? What is flow? Flow क्या मतलब zone में रहना मतलब क्या? So the common articulations of that यार कि जब हम कुछ काम कर रहे हैं उसमें इतने पूरे senses के साथ हम जा रहे हैं. That you are unaware of what's happening, you are unaware of time passing, you are enjoying what you're doing, you're getting satisfied with what you're doing, and that's the engaging work. So today, if I am talking to you and if my whole being is here, present, that is engagement. And people and studies have also shown that when we are in the zone, when we are in this flow state, there is a great sense of well-being. There's a great sense of happiness. अगर even if you think कभी ऐसे हुआ है कि there is some activity that you've done, maybe reading a book, or maybe you've done something, or playing something, or playing with a child, or whatever. When time has just ceased to exist, you must have experienced that. And how does that feel after you've done it? तो जो वो खुशी मिलती है ना, that's what engagement is. So if you do those kind of things, then that also contributes to well-being. Then it's relationship. Now, relationships means interpersonal. I mean, it could be family, it could be colleagues, it could be general society at large. Relationship also means relationship with the self. So the more quote unquote healthy a relationship is, where you feel a sense of happiness, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of love, a warm affection, joy, that will contribute to your happiness as well. So आपका रिश्ता आपके environment के साथ और ecosystem के साथ क्या है, और अपने आप के साथ क्या है, that also will contribute. So the better it, I mean, the more you work towards it, you will start feeling these positive emotions, and that way also work towards happiness. Yeah. Then comes meaning. Now, what does meaning mean? Meaning is जो भी करो, अगर उसका कुछ पर्पस नहीं है ना, तो खुशी नहीं मिलती है. कुछ भी हो. I mean, even if you have taken a job, okay? I mean, this used to happen. I remember. So there was this particular job I was doing, and I mean, it was good, paying well, everything. काफी सालों तक किया मैंने. But then at one point I said, I don't want to get up and go to work. That was the sense that I got one fine day when I woke up. Now, of course, I didn't put in my papers immediately, obviously not. But that realization happened कि यार मुझे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है. अब all the boxes are getting ticked. पैसा मिल रहा है, ठीक ठाक ही है, जन नजदीकी है. People are happy. My work is fine. Everybody is appreciating my work. In fact, I am, again, quote unquote, growing. आजकल वो growing as a word is there, no, in corporate growth. तो growth हो रहा है, सब कुछ हो रहा है, लेकिन खुशी नहीं मिल रही है मुझे वो करने में. Now, that's when I started thinking, my God, अब खुशी नहीं मिल रही है तो इतने सारे बॉक्सेस टिक करके करूं क्या मैं? So unless and until I feel a sense of purpose in whatever I do, I am not going to feel happy. So again, if you are talking about well-being, general flourishing and thriving, although everything was working well, but I was not thriving. I was not flourishing. So that's where we start talking about whatever you do needs to have a purpose to it. Even if it's the smallest of things. So, I mean, in my sessions as well, I tell, my clients, one of the activity I give them is, कोई भी काम करो, you try to figure out why are you doing it. Because everything that you do has got a purpose. I mean, the reason that we have this cup here and it is here with some warm, nice green tea, there's a purpose to it. There's a purpose to this lamp here. There's a purpose to this, whatever, the plant here. So also try and understand what the purpose is. And if that purpose does not align with your purpose, then maybe you want to relook. Because ultimately that purpose should decide whether you're liking that work, you're enjoying that work, how you're feeling. Yeah. So meaning, the M of PERMA is about the purpose of a particular activity that you're doing, a particular enterprise that you are trying to initiate. Yeah. And A is accomplishment. Yeah, achievement that they say. Now, again, accomplishment and achievement in our traditional sense is achievement. Okay, when you say ना कि यार क्या achieve किया, तो first thing is क्या achieve किया. This big achievement that we think about. But getting out of bed at 6 o'clock, where I've been really trying to get up early, is an achievement for me. Yeah, being off sweets for 1 week straight is an achievement for me. So achievement का definition एक तो बदलने की जरूरत है. And because the mind does not differentiate between big achievements and small achievements. तो जो डोपामिन आएगा वो तुम छोटा चीज करोगे वही आएगा, एंड बड़ा करोगे तो वही आएगा. तो माइंड विल नो recognizes it as an achievement, period, nothing else. So that's why to do everything in such a way and recognizing that this is an achievement I have done also contributes to your well-being. So when we are talking about thriving and flourishing, this is one framework that Seligman or positive psychologists use. There's another one that has been added to this now, and that is H, that is health. Okay. So health matlab physical health and what you do for it. The more you do, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise, whether it's something else, it's that has recently got added. So ये सब चीजें अगर आप करते हो sufficiently, then your happiness quotient sort of goes up. So and there are ways and means to work on each one of them. So positive psychology में ये हर एक के ऊपर काम करने के interventions है, which have been devised or created by psychologists. So that's one. And the other very important framework or tool rather is something called character strengths. So again, what positive psychologists talk about is that everybody, all of us have strengths, not in the sense of the way we imagine strength. क्योंकि जैसे जॉब इंटरव्यू में बोलते हैं आपकी स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, तो हम तो मतलब बोलते हैं स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, बट पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी में हम जब स्ट्रेंथ की बात करते हैं, कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ की बात करते हैं, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग लाइक सम 24 स्ट्रेंथ्स दैट ऑल ऑफ अस हैव। ओके, हर एक के पास है वो, ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके पास नहीं है, आपके पास 10 है, मेरे पास 2 है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। एवरीबडी हैज 24 स्ट्रेंथ्स एंड these 24 strengths have been created or actually developed and thought about, and they have come up with this list of 24 strengths by actually working and almost, I think more than 10-15 years of research has gone in that to come up with this list. Almost more than 51-52 scientists and psychologists have worked on this to come up with this after studying different again, books, resources, textbooks, cultures, people. And this, ये जो 24 है ना, those are age agnostic, geography agnostic, gender agnostic, religion agnostic. मतलब it doesn't matter from where you come, it is universal. हर एक में वही होता है, अगर आप अमेरिका में जाओ या वियतनाम में जाओ या श्रीलंका में जाओ, same. So those 24 strengths is how they, and then of course then we actually come up with the profile of a person. Everybody will have it, but some of us have certain strengths which are high in that list and certain strengths which are low. So now how do we work with that? So working with our strengths is what positive psychology also talks about. So maybe we can talk about that slightly later, but that's another framework. So both of these two, if you put them together, if you work with character strengths plus the PERMA model, it helps to take you towards, level up to say, towards thriving, towards flourishing. That's sort of the context around how to question.
And आपने जैसे समझाया परमा के बारे में and these 24 characteristics model, to me as a lay person it sounds very complicated. मतलब positive thinking तो बहुत ही आसान लग रहा था, हो रही थी नहीं हो रही थी is a different thing, but at least आसान है कि positive think करना है. So how does this work?
How does it become
as
easy?
Yes, for a lay person, how do they go ahead with this?
Okay, so अब तक तो I think we were into a jargon, but अभी हम simplify अगर करें तो मैं so let's not talk about PERMA right now, because PERMA is a framework. PERMA मतलब ये हर एक PERMA जो है वो हम कैसे बेहतर बनाए, that is how we will, that is what one needs to do. तो उसको थोड़ा साइड में करते हैं. लेकिन ये कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ्स की बात करती हूँ मैं, तो जो 24 कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ्स है ना, they are divided into some 6 broad categories, like जिसको हम virtues बोलते हैं. तो उसमें one of the virtues is wisdom, one of the virtues justice, ऐसे करके 6 है, right? Now one very beautiful thing that positive psychologists have done is they have come up with a questionnaire. Okay, जो इट्स अ सेल्फ रिपोर्ट क्वेश्चन है, मतलब आपको खुद को ही करना है उसको. इसको बोलते हैं वैल्यूज इन एक्शन करके एक, इट्स अ फ्री टूल दैट यू कैन गेट ऑनलाइन, एंड वो आप फिल करो एंड उसके बाद एक रिपोर्ट जनरेट होता है. ओके, उसमें क्या होगा कि अगर सीनम ने किया है वो, तो सीनम के 24 के 24 कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ दिखेंगे, लेकिन आपके जो टॉप स्ट्रेंथ्स है वो टॉप में आएंगे, जो नहीं है थोड़े कम है तो वो नीचे रहेंगे. अगर मैं करती हूँ तो मेरे भी 24 आएंगे, लेकिन मेरे टॉप स्ट्रेंथ्स अलग होंगे. ऐसा प्रोफाइल, ऐसे ब्लड रिपोर्ट आता है वैसे ये एक रिपोर्ट आता है. उसको देखने के बाद आपको पता चल जाता है कि आपके ना 3 या 4 या 5 जो टॉप स्ट्रेंथ्स हैं वो कौन से हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं मेरी बात करूँ, तो जब मैंने मेरा प्रोफाइल देखा तो मुझे पहले मेरे टॉप 3-4 जो है वो, आई थिंक वन वाज लव, वन वाज क्रिएटिविटी, एंड देन देयर वाज फेयरनेस एंड पर्सपेक्टिव एंड जजमेंट, आई थिंक. ओके, ऐसे कुछ 4-5 थे. तो दीज आर द टॉप वंस. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस ना, और ये हर एक के साथ होता है, कि हमारे जो ऊपर के होते हैं ना स्ट्रेंथ्स, ये स्ट्रेंथ्स सबसे अहम होते हैं. ओके, दीज आर द वंस व्हिच आर ऑलमोस्ट कोडेड इनटू आवर पर्सनालिटी. ठीक है, तो जिसकी वजह से ना हम जो भी काम करते हैं, जो भी सिचुएशन को फेस करते हैं, गुड बैड वट एवर इट इज, हम ये स्ट्रेंथ को यूज करते हैं बिकॉज इट कम्स नेचुरली टू अस. ओके, तो जैसे मैं कुछ भी करूं तो मेरा क्रिएटिविटी किसी न किसी रूप में आ जाएगा, लव किसी न किसी रूप में आ जाएगा, फेयरनेस किसी न किसी रूप में आ जाएगा. तो ये 4-5 के हिसाब से मैं, एंड आई डोंट हैव टू थिंक अबाउट इट, वो नेचुरली हो जाते हैं. नीचे वाले जो है वो आते नहीं है अनलेस एंड अनटिल आई मेक एन अटेम्प्ट कॉन्शियसली. यार यू नो मेरा कंसिस्टेंसी, I have to use my strength of consistency now, like that. पर ये ऊपर के 4-5 जो है, those are automatic. That's why they are called signature character strengths. Like a sign, आपने हर एक की एक personal, individual sign होती है, वैसे. It's a signature. These are called signature strengths. So now research has showed that आप जितना signature strength ज़्यादा use करोगे, you start feeling better. और या your sense of happiness increases. Okay. Now that does not mean कि नीचे के नहीं काम करने हैं, वो तो करने हैं, but I will not come there right now. I'll just talk about this top 5 one. But I will also, so what happens therefore is कि because it is so automatic, जहाँ पे चाहिए नहीं ना वहाँ पे भी वो यूज होता है. जैसे for example, I'll give you mine only, not taking anyone else's example, कि my top strength is love. Okay, number 1. Now जहाँ प्यार की जरूरत है वहाँ तो मैं of course obviously यूज करती हूँ, लेकिन आई एम फाइंडिंग दैट जहाँ पे जरूरत नहीं है, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल पीपल आर नॉट ट्रीटिंग मी वेल फॉर सम रीजन, ओके, या किसी ने लाइन कट कर दी एंड वी हैव बीन स्टैंडिंग फॉर द लास्ट 1 hour एंड दिस हैज हैपेंड, वहाँ पे भी मेरा लव आता है एंड देन आई एम लाइक ओके चलो यार आ जाओ. Well, actually I should be angry. I should say, no, please go back. So because it is so natural for me, I will use love everywhere. And then problem क्या होती है? Then obviously people are going to yell behind. I'm going to feel bad also कि यार मैंने ऐसे क्यों किया? Because of me, this is what happened. जो line इतनी थी वो और बढ़ गई because that person had 5 other people with him, and then you know those kind of things. So it gets very important to recognize कि हम ये जो हमारे 5 हमारे जो strengths है, signature strengths है, उनको भी कैसे use करें properly. तो what positive psychologists do is find or show ways and means to use even your character strengths in a more conscious, mindful manner. तो वहाँ पे इंटरवेंशंस होते हैं, जैसे अब बाकी थेरेपी होती है वैसे इसकी भी होती है. देयर बी कोचिंग ऑन दिस, देयर बी ट्रेनिंग ऑन दिस कि किस तरह से आपके कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ्स को, सिग्नेचर कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ्स को यूज किया जाए. सो द फर्स्ट ऑफ कोर्स इज टू आइडेंटिफाई द स्ट्रेंथ एंड आफ्टर दैट हाउ टू यूज देम इज द नेक्स्ट स्टेप. तो इस तरीके से वो यूज किया जाता है एंड इट्स अ प्रैक्टिस. ओके, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी ऑलवेज से दैट ओके, सुनने में तो बहुत आसान है ये, but unless and until you do it and practice it, it's not going to have any use. So but the best part is that test आपको किसी को जाके psychologist को जाके दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं. You can just go on the site and you can just do that test and you get your profile. And when you look at it, just see whether what you feel about it. कि वाकई में ये ऊपर के 4-5 जो है वो वाकई do they align with me? And then maybe that's something that you may want to come back and tell me what did you feel, because some things are really, they can blow your mind because we're like, oh my god, isko kaise pata chala ki this is what it has. But yeah, so that's a simple way of putting, this is how character strengths are used. And there is a little bit of coaching that one needs to go into because it's a new idea. तो थोड़ा सा गाइड करने की जरूरत है कि किस तरह से हमको इसको यूज करना है. एंड आई थिंक द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट हियर इज गलती कहाँ होती है, क्योंकि हम लोग ये वर्ड स्ट्रेंथ्स यूज करते हैं ना, तो बहुत लोगों का मतलब मानना या अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये होती है कि ये 24 है, अब 5 के नीचे जो है ना वो सब मेरे वीकनेसेस है. बट दैट्स वन थिंग that's very very clear when we are thinking about positive psychology and character strengths का काम जब बात करते हैं, ये सब weaknesses नहीं है. These are also strengths only. Or these strengths are there with you. Only thing you're not using them enough. So you will never, like for example, if I say, Sinam, यार आपकी your signature strength is curiosity. Yeah. लेकिन आपका weakness जो है वो है fairness. Versus if I say your signature strength is curiosity, but your lower strength is fairness, that means you're not using it enough. दोनों में how did the first one feel, how did the second one feel?
फर्स्ट वन में तो ऐसा लगा कि फेयरनेस है ही नहीं. मतलब
और लगा कैसे?
I don't know, it felt like very difficult to explain, but कि है ही नहीं, मतलब मेरे अंदर जब चीज है ही नहीं तो it felt like someone is attacking me in a way for fairness.
कुछ कमी लगी ना, मतलब यार कुछ तो ये है नहीं, somebody is blaming me, attacking me. Yeah, while the second time when I said whatever I said, that it is a lower strength and it's not just being used more frequently. How did you feel?
In that case it was more like कि है, and अगर कोई situation आएगी I need to use it. Maybe थोड़ा ज़्यादा consciously करना पड़ेगा, not as consciously as curiosity because वो तो natural है, आ ही रही है, but ये वाला थोड़ा consciously ज़्यादा करना पड़ेगा.
Which one more empowering?
Second one, of course.
Yeah. So that is what the work with character strengths do to people. So when we are actually working with people, this is what makes a person feel better in terms of confidence, in terms of self-esteem, about oneself, and more empowered to or more ready to take on difficult situations as well. So so that's what it is when we are thinking about how to work with character strengths.
And जो आप ये questionnaire बोल रहे हैं, what exactly is it called?
It's called via character strengths. It's you can just Google it. You will find it on the internet. It's in fact there is one for adults and there's one for children as well. Okay. It's a shorter one, the one for children, and if I'm not wrong, they also have it translated in different languages, many languages, because it's it's been used. It's I believe it's the most popularly used profile or questionnaire in the world today. I don't know whether it's in Hindi, but I was last I heard they were going to have a translation in Hindi, if I'm not wrong. Maybe it's there.
And जैसे when you were talking about these top five strengths that or characteristics that one person has, तो ठीक है, अब मुझे पता चल गया मेरे ये 5 चीजें हैं मेरे बारे में. What to do with this now?
हाँ, अब ये मिले हमें, एक तो सबसे पहली बात ये हो जाती है कि ये मिले, इससे हमें हमारे बारे में थोड़ा सा और पता चल जाता है. That itself is very useful because then whatever you do लाइफ में जो भी करते हो आप बहुत ज्यादा कॉन्शियसली करते हो. राइट. ऑल्सो इट मेक्स अस अंडरस्टैंड कि एक हाथ सिचुएशन में मैंने ऐसा बिहेव क्यों किया, एंड देन यू रियलाइज ओ माय गॉड यस, बिकॉज दिस इज माय कैरेक्टर स्ट्रेंथ टॉप 1 एंड मैं वहीं से ऑपरेट करती हूँ हर टाइम. सो देन यू हैव द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू चूज डिफरेंटली नेक्स्ट टाइम इफ इट हैज नॉट हेल्प्ड यू इन द प्रीवियस टाइम. सो दैट्स वन. अब दूसरी बात मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंटली ये है कि जैसे आपके 5 हैं वैसे मेरे भी 5 हैं, आपके फ्रेंड्स के भी 5 हैं, आपके बॉस के भी 5 हैं.
करेक्ट.
Everybody has it. Now, if I know what your 5 character strengths are, I know how, or I can predict also how you may actually respond to a certain situation. If you know mine, even you will know that about me as well. And what that means is then both of us can then align our strengths to work on a task in a better fashion. So it is more collaborative in that sense. Also, if you do not do a certain thing and I know your correct character strength and I say, but sure enough, I mean, Sinam की तो वो है ही नहीं signatures में, वो कैसे करेगी? That means I have more acceptance, more empathy, more understanding, rather than beating you up and say, यार ये क्यों नहीं किया आपने? That doesn't happen then. So so when in the PERMA, now I'm going back to PERMA now, the art, the relationship, it gets better because now our understanding is better. So if that gets better, immediately our sense of well-being it's sort of elevated. So that's one of the ways of actually working with character strengths. And once you know your strengths, you can use them to do different things now. Because now I know, to be very honest, when I started working with them, and one of the first things that we start doing is looking at the profile. So मैंने जब मेरा creativity as top 5 देखा ना, I did not believe it. I said, I do not look at myself as creative. And then I started thinking, why is it that I don't look at myself as creative? Because मेरे दिमाग में creativity मतलब art, creative मतलब कुछ तो बनाना या music, singing, painting. तो I'm बकवास in that. So then I said, oh bullshit, this is ये तो नहीं है, सही नहीं है. Then I started thinking, but to be very honest, I am a person who thinks out of the box always in anything that I do. अगर ये नहीं चल रहा है तो चलो अलग तरीके से देखते हैं, उस तरीके से देखते हैं, and that's creativity. So I understood a lot about myself, and therefore now I can actually start. So it gave me a lot of confidence because जब कभी मैं creativity की बात सोचती थी, and कहीं पे भी कोई भी space है, and where the conventional understanding of creativity की कोई चीज करने की जरूरत पड़ती थी, that time I think यार मेरे लिए नहीं है. But now I am more confident to actually go and try out new things. Because I know there is creativity, which is my signature strength. तो कहीं नहीं जाने वाला है वो. I will be able to do something or other. I may not be able to do everything perfectly like it's required, but I can do something which is good and which has contributed to my confidence. And then of course, then you do, and so therefore the growth. So हम बात thriving और flourishing की तो कर रहे हैं ना. So unless and until we do not try things new, venture into things which are maybe challenging, we are not going to thrive, we are not going to flourish. And now this is giving me an avenue to actually trust myself, believe in myself and do things, because now I have something very concrete in front of me, and these are all evidence based, scientifically validated, reliable questionnaires. तो ये ऐसे कुछ हवा में positive thinking है ही नहीं. So that helps a lot. So it helps at home. Similarly at home, अगर family में, especially I've seen this happening with families, with children and parents expect certain things out of their children, and अगर वो चीज करने के लिए वो बच्चे के पास वो top strength में है ही नहीं, तो so unfair to even expect it from that person. Correct. And then it's horrible because आप फिर as a parent, because you're already in power, आप ऐसी कुछ चीजें कर देते हो which scars the person for life, the child for life. Whereas if you know that यही जो strength चाहिए for that particular task to be done is a lower strength for your child, you will do something so that particular strength is used more often. You'll train the child in a way, your acceptance is more, you're kinder, and that itself will foster such a great parent-child relationship. So it can be used everywhere, every single place, including your relationship with yourself.
And like you talked about parent-child relationship, and आपने जैसे कहा कि क्वेश्चनर में भी बड़ों का क्वेश्चनर अलग होता है, छोटे बच्चों का अलग होता है. तो छोटे बच्चों का क्वेश्चनर कौन सी एज से चालू होता है?
I think it's 8+ if I'm not wrong. Okay. I mean, who can actually, attempt it? That kind of, if I'm not wrong.
And is it like, these characteristics?
But I need to get back on that one. But yeah, I think it's 8+, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And in terms of, these characteristics, these 5 or 6, whatever major characteristics that you have, do they change over a period of time?
So what research has shown is that you're talking about the ranking of the strengths, right?
Yes,
because,
correct.
Yeah. So what research shows is that तो पहले ऊपर के जो 5 होते हैं वो इतने नहीं बदलते, the top 5, because they're signature strengths. तो वो शायद थोड़े ऊपर, like for example मेरा अगर love second पे आ गया, fairness पहले आ गया, but all of that can happen. तो 5 इतने नहीं बदलते, नीचे के हो सकते हैं ऊपर नीचे ज्यादा, because the more you start using it, the more it will become a second nature to you to use that. So you can then do that test again, maybe 6 months, 1 year later, and see. So the point is not about whether it is changing or not. The point is about now the one, like for example, consistency for me, or is maybe low. Okay, as a lower strength. Because I'm working so much on it, I might find that it is sort of gone up a little, but something else is gone down. Now, अगर आप intensity देखो तो you keep working on it, you are going to keep strengthening each strength because आप frequency consciously, you're frequently using those strengths. It will give you a sense of how you're moving. That is there for sure. Like for example, there is bravery, courage, bravery. ये दो चीजें. तो मे बी वो नीचे है मेरे लिए, लेकिन मैं कॉन्शियसली कुछ चीजें यूज करूँ तो मे बी मेरी ब्रेवरी ऊपर जाएगी, करेज ऊपर जाएगा एज अ वैल्यू. सो यस, इट चेंजेस, ऊपर नीचे थोड़ा होता है, टॉप 5 इतने नहीं चेंज होते हैं. विद इन दोस थोड़ा बहुत चेंज होगा, बट दिस इज व्हाट रिसर्च इज शोन अप अंटिल नाउ.
इंटरेस्टिंग. एंड जैसे अब अगर किसी ने अपनी ये 5 स्ट्रेंथ, उनको पता चल गई है 5 कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स है, सो क्या फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे जॉब, अगर कोई जॉब ढूंढ रहा है तो शुड दे लुक फॉर अ जॉब व्हिच अलाइंस विद दीस 5 स्ट्रेंथ्स?
I think it's an excellent question. If we can do that, nothing like it, because then you will thrive in that job. Because it's so, at least your starting point, you're already ahead. कि आपकी ये पांच एटलीस्ट 4, बिकॉज when you say signature strength, no, 5 हम बोलते हैं, लेकिन top 3 you can look at really when you talk about signature. अगर वो अलाइन होते हैं तो you will from the word go you will start really doing well there, and then you can of course polish. So that's I think to answer your question, surely.
Because it definitely sounds like the China model of picking up kids for sports. क्योंकि apparently China में बहुत ही छोटेपन में वो बच्चों की muscle strength and everything, they look at it and then they're like, अच्छा ये बच्चा इस sport में जाएगा, ये बच्चा इस sport में जाएगा. So maybe that works. Because I think India में our model, even if you talk about education model, it's more about सबको सब कुछ पढ़ाओ, फिर देखते हैं क्या निकलेगा.
क्या और किसको क्या चाहिए. I don't even know whether agency is a question in here. मतलब बच्चे को क्या चाहिए is secondary.
Correct.
Of course, there are so many factors, but yes, what you said is absolutely right. And then while you're working there, because already things are aligned, then you have better space to work on the lower strengths also. नहीं तो ये होता है कि then from the word go, you are trying to work only. To, sort of polish each strength. So already you are 2 steps ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
So basically you're saying positive psychology is more about knowing yourself more in a way.
Yes.
Your characteristics, your core characteristics, and actually using those in all the areas of your life.
Absolutely.
In terms of your relationships, your your job, whatever you're doing,
everywhere, and knowing others. अगर बाकियों का भी पता चले तो it will be fantastic. That will be a game changer.
But in relationships, does it really work that people with 2 very different, these 5 core strengths?
तो अगर पता है ना तो one can work with it. When one understands, like okay, मेरी क्या है, तेरी क्या है, suddenly certain things that I did not like about you starts making sense. Because then I say, yeah, of course, this is something that she will struggle with only, because उसकी वो lower strength है. And same applies to somebody when you're talking to me, or husband wife है, या whatever partners है, जो भी है. So it works. अब कई बार because you want that relationship to work, then you can start looking at how we can support each other and work with each other's strengths. And not have unrealistic expectations from the partner. And it works both ways. One has to work on it because we are not trained to do this. We have never, this is a new concept. But it works. And there are some, there are in relationship, like I said, there are so many interventions, no? There are some beautiful interventions for relationships. Things like, I think it's 31 questions or something it is, and there it's so lovely getting to know each other and understanding each other, and after that you get to know so much about your partner, which probably 15 years of staying with that person also had not given you that insight. It gives you that kind of in-depth little peek into the partner. Yeah, and it's a beautiful journey. You're already discovering so much already with your partner.
Correct. And the kind of interventions that you're talking about, that there's certain interventions that can be used. So can you explain a little more? What are these interventions?
Yeah. So there are many. I'll just give you some very popular ones if that helps. Because for each strength, to sort of strengthen it, or to increase its frequency, there are different interventions. But one of the things that I also use very, very liberally to begin with is something that we call 3 good things. Now, everybody is very familiar these days with the gratitude journal. Okay, that is a very common thing. Now, this is a little different. Here, we are not talking about any gratitude or anything like that. Here, it is simply at the end of the day, you write down 3 things that have gone well. 3 good things. Okay, only 3. And what that means is, and gone well means can be anything. Okay, it could be what has gone well is that it didn't rain today. What has gone well is that I ate a little healthy today. What has gone well is that my presentation went on well. Could be anything, but just 3. You write that, then you write about how you felt after that, and then third thing is you ask yourself what was your contribution in making that good thing happen. Okay, and if we want to take it one step further and using our character strength, if you have done that profile and everything, then to ask yourself the question that which character strength did I use to make this happen? Okay, and that's a more intentional one. So वैसे हम 3 के लिए करेंगे, and this one does it every single day like a दवाई. Okay, and it is phenomenal, because what happens is, if you keep doing this, and this is what clients tell me, that after some days, you start looking for good things. You're happy. अरे यार आज ये मेरी ये लिखूंगी हम. So that means our mind anyway, we have, like we say ना psychologist की, negativity bias is a human condition. तो हमको पहले जो चीजें सही नहीं हो रही है वो पहले दिखती है. Never, very rarely do we first say, "ये काम मस्त है." That doesn't happen. But through this exercise, your mind starts getting primed or trained to look for things that are going well. That does not mean that you are stopping yourself from looking at things that are not going well. Okay, that's not what it is. But it is about first looking at what is going well and then see how you are contributing to it. That will lead to an upward spiral for you, where you start feeling more confident, more sure of yourself, more sure of your strengths. And when that happens, then you have the strength to work on things which are not going well. Whereas if it's the other way around, if you start looking at negative, it's a downward spiral. तो डाउनवर्ड स्पाइरल में तो डिप्लीशन ही होगा. अब क्या बचेगा हमारे पास टू एक्चुअली वर्क ऑन थिंग्स दैट आर कमिंग आवर वे. सो इट हेल्प्स us to be more resilient, to look for things which are within you. This very simple exercise, it's a very simple one.
हाँ, because जब आप ये बता रहे हैं तो मेरे दिमाग में there were like certain antennas. First was कि लिखना कि 3 अच्छी चीजें क्या हुई, तो काइंड ऑफ वो वही हो गया कि आप एक्चुअली ढूंढ रहे हो क्या अच्छी चीजें हुई. दूसरा, आपने क्या किया वो अच्छी चीजों में कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए. सो इट्स काइंड ऑफ गिविंग यू कंट्रोल ओवर गुड थिंग्स दैट आर हैपनिंग. सो यू आर इन कंट्रोल, यू आर मेकिंग गुड थिंग्स हैपन. एंड आई थिंक वो जब आप रोज कर रहे हैं तो देन यू आर लाइक, देख मैं अच्छी चीज कर रही हूँ. So your mind is like you are doing good things, so keep doing good things. So जो आप मतलब पहले कह रहे थे कि appreciation वाला जो पार्ट है, it's not like बड़ा एकदम कुछ होगा तभी appreciation आएगी. It's coming with small little things. achievement जो आ रही है वो small little things से भी आ रही है. So I think when we do that achievement also starts kicking in. अरे हमने ये अच्छा किया, तो ये अच्छा किया. It's like patting your back every time, saying तूने किया अच्छा.
And the best part there, Zeenam, is that शुरुआत में तो you will do at the end of the day, but later on it becomes so habitual that when you are doing it only, during in that moment only you will start feeling, oh my God, I'm using this strength. Oh my God, I've done something really nice here. Yeah. And in the moment you start patting your back, and then that means in the moment you are able to do so much more. because you feel good, no?
करेक्ट. एंड आपके पास कोई क्लाइंट्स के एग्जांपल्स होंगे आपके जिसमें यू यूज्ड ऑल दीज टेक्निक्स एंड व्हाट डिड दे कम अप विद फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल एंड देन व्हाट ऑल टेक्निक्स डिड यू यूज एंड फाइनली आउटकम क्या था उसका?
सी मेनली ना ये सब चीज़ें बहुत अच्छी तरह से फॉर एंजाइटी, स्ट्रेस, डिप्रेशन के लिए बहुत काम आते हैं. तो आई हैव यूज्ड इट विद लॉट ऑफ माय क्लाइंट्स हु कम विद depression या feeling of overwhelmed, loss of control, all of that. So जैसे अभी there's this one particular client and she's living with almost chronic pain, autoimmune disease, and she did one of this particular exercise. So she just, I mean, because when you explain it to people for the first time, they don't realize कि ये क्या है, whatever. So when she did it for the first time, she did for a week, and and when she came to me later on and she said, "यार, I don't know what to write in emotion. ये कुछ नहीं है, महसूस होता है and all of that and whatever, and मैंने क्या contribute किया है." तो through that particular session, we went to अच्छा, okay, this has happened. What do you think? कुछ तो क्या? What do you feel? Why did you do it? Probe कर करके we figured out. She only after some time that okay, yeah, actually I did this because yeah, I got myself out of bed. So usually I'm just rolling about in bed, but that day I just although I did not feel like, I got out of it. So that kind of willpower I showed. Okay, एक चीज बताई ऐसे और दो तीन चीजें तो वो ये उसने किया. अब धीरे धीरे she started getting so used to looking at herself as somebody who is in control, because otherwise uska thoda sa self doubt was like at its peak. So that was happening with her, and she is brilliant, okay, yet she did not think that she was कोई कुछ बड़ी चीज कर रही है. And slowly she started regaining her own confidence in herself, started feeling so much better because उसकी जो physical symptoms हैं, because of her condition तो वो थे ही थे, but they were getting aggravated because of these thought patterns. So slowly she started feeling better about यार in the body she started feeling lighter. So this is something, I mean, of course it's still a work in progress, it's not finished because it's not as if abhi 2 hafte mein ho jata hai, but this is something that one is experiencing. I have one particular person who is severe depression, matlab major depression, yeah, and older person. मतलब उनको तो ये जब मैंने दिया, it took me really long time for first to get her to do this. So honestly 3 good things is what we say, but then we started with okay नहीं 3 नहीं हो रहा because couple of sessions we are trying, nothing she's doing that. Okay, एक डालो, एक करो, and she did 1. Then next week I said okay चलो 2 करो. She couldn't do 2. Again we went back to 1. We said okay एक करो. करते fine. There was a time when she said कि यार बिल्कुल भी नहीं हो रहा, I can't do anything. Then I started sending her texts every day. आज क्या? At the end of the day I only used to ask her, okay 3 good मुझे बताओ, मुझे because she started saying कि मुझे लिखना नहीं है, मेरे को लिखना नहीं है, मुझे मतलब I just don't feel like writing only. I said okay मुझे बताओ, टेक्स्ट तो करते हो ना आप मुझे, तो टेक्स्ट करो. तो वो किया थोड़े दिन, उसके बाद वो स्टॉप हो गया. व्हाट हैपेंड सिंस? नहीं, मुझे टेक्स्ट भी नहीं करना. ओके ऑलराइट, एंड ठीक है. आई सेड वॉइस नोट भेजो. एंड देन वी स्टार्टेड वर्किंग. आई मीन वी रियली वर्क फॉर अ रियली लॉन्ग टाइम. शी इज स्टिल स्ट्रगलिंग, बट व्हाट शी इज रीच्ड टू now she is moved. This was a person who was not getting out of bed. This was a person who was not taking baths. This was a person who was not socializing, not doing anything except mindlessly watching some YouTube videos, which also she was not registering. Nothing. Now this person is, I mean, I'm not saying this was the only reason, but she is now able to look for things that are, things which are going fairly well in her life, at least able to tell me, because every time पहले क्या होता था, हम जब बात करते थे, the answer to everything was नहीं यार कुछ नहीं हो रहा है यार, मैं गई थी लेकिन मजा नहीं आया यार, that kind of thing. But now she's able to say अच्छा हो गया, जाने का मन नहीं बिल्कुल हुआ मेरा, लेकिन मैं गई, I came back and I thought अच्छा लगा मुझे मेरे फ्रेंड को मिलके. Okay, next time she'll probably say मुझे नहीं जाना है, but she will go and then she'll come back, हाँ अच्छा लगा, मैं वॉक करने गई थी यार, बिल्कुल मन नहीं किया कपड़े बदलने का, and all of that she'll say, and then after that she'll somehow go and say, but it was nice outside. So what has happened is slow. It was a very slow progress for her, because she is really struggling with depression, but she was moving. So these are the kind of things that you get to see in front of your eyes. People who are like, then there are students who are, have done some work with students. So when you do work like this and work of character strength also, they start feeling more confident about themselves, because they have never seen themselves in the light of, "Arey, mere paas ye bhi strength hai." Because as a culture, no, we don't appreciate. No, and appreciation is not taught only to us. I think as people, I don't know, it's an Indian thing or what. But it's like 90 मिले हैं तो यार 90 क्यों मिले, 95 क्यों नहीं मिले? It's like that. I mean, especially people who supposedly are supposed to get good marks for students. So when you are always surrounded by people who are showing you how you are not doing things correctly, this kind of work, the students I have worked with, they suddenly start feeling, "Nahi, actually I do have this." It helps them then at looking at difficult, say topics, also with little less fear. जैसे कि यार ये किया तो ये भी तो कर ही पाऊंगा मेरे ख्याल से, मैं थोड़ा बहुत तो they'll try at least. So that resilience which I'm talking about, a little bit of the grit to do it, that starts developing. It starts becoming a part of you. It's a slow process, but it happens. So yeah, I mean, that's just a couple of examples yeah. Then there are other things also. Then there are gratitude visits. You can say that, okay, if you want to, why don't you? Because gratitude, research has shown that gratitude helps in well-being. So then you actually ask people to write gratitude notes and go and give it to the person who you want to say thank you to. And some people, in fact, there have been studies, there are some lovely YouTube videos also on this, जहाँ पे people who have never spoken to certain, like some बहुत पुराने teacher and बात नहीं की है उसके साथ, but you really feel grateful for that person. That person goes and talks to that person, maybe on a phone call or a note or whatever, or a text, जो भी है, and just to say how they felt. Though that works wonders. Compliments देना, again, which is something that is not common with what you do. I know this one person, she is, I mean, when she is talking to people, to her team members, all the two things that she will say, she will compliment, but the compliment is 10% and criticism is 90%. So that's another thing that, that's in studies what they say is proportion 3:1 होना चाहिए. You must have heard of that burger technique. I don't know if you heard of burger technique. No, this is not positive psychology thing. It's something that people use, that अगर कुछ चीज बतानी है आपको which has not gone well, then first I will say sandwich, burger, whatever. Yeah, तो एक अच्छी चीज बोलो, फिर वो चीज बोलो, फिर दूसरी अच्छी चीज बोलो, that kind of thing. Which is fair. I mean, it's useful, for sure useful. But this is when you want to say something negative or something, give some feedback. करो, जरूर करो. But what about the times when there is no negative feedback to give? What's stopping you from appreciating or complimenting just like that? Hey, oh my God, यार ये तो बहुत अच्छा किया है आपने. What's stopping us? Correct. So just giving random compliments. Then otherwise, बहुत in workplace I'm saying, कहीं मतलब what we also try and do is then you dedicate time to compliment people. Meeting के शुरुआत के 5 मिनट, you will compliment, people will compliment each other. Meeting के end के 5 मिनट are dedicated for again compliments. Compulsory as a rule. It becomes then again a second nature to look for things to compliment. पहले टाइम थोड़ा सा हम सोचेंगे वगैरह वगैरह, नेक्स्ट टाइम ऑल्सो सोचेंगे थोड़ा सा, थर्ड टाइम विल एक्चुअली स्टार्ट लुकिंग एंड ऑब्जर्विंग पीपल इन द एंटायर मीटिंग to compliment that person at the end of the meeting, because the last वाला 5 minute वाला जो है वो compliment is about how did that entire meeting go and what did you appreciate about the person while in the meeting. So that means you are not paying attention.
Correct.
So that is another method, technique. So yeah, and then 3:1 kind of a thing, where if you want to say something not so nice or feedback, ensure that आप एटलीस्ट 3 चीजें अच्छी बोलो उस बंदे के बारे में. Apparently in marriages is 5:1, but I mean jokes apart, but 3 चीजें तो जरूर बोलो. It will also give you a sense of, you know, noticing good things about your team members or your family members or whoever, friends. Then it is not about criticism. Then it becomes about feedback. Otherwise it becomes about criticism.
Correct. Yeah, it's not like it's a personal attack then.
हाँ, क्योंकि मैं बाकी भी चीजें नोटिस कर रही हूँ आपकी ना.
Correct.
Then people are more receptive to whatever you are saying also.
And you know, जब आप ये पूरा बता रहे थे अपने clients के बारे में, there are a couple of things that were coming to my mind. जैसे first of all जब आप बता रहे थे depression के बारे में कि you know, when they start doing this activity of writing these 3 good things that they've done and what they have done to contribute to that. एक चीज तो मतलब वो वैसा you know उस टाइम मेरे दिमाग में आ रहा था कि it's actually about replacing their thought patterns. कि अभी वो उस स्पाइरल में रह ही गए हैं, मतलब वो even if you know what is bothering you, what's the cause of it, but आप निकल ही नहीं पा रहे हो. You are just in that. हमें पता है गलत हुआ है, हाँ गलत हुआ है मेरे साथ, but अब क्या,
आगे क्या. हाँ,
so when you do this activity it actually cuts you off from that. It's not connected. It's not like गलत हुआ है इसलिए मैं ये कर रही हूँ. It's like आप सोच ही नहीं रहे हो, आप actually कुछ और ही करने लग गए हो. And it actually gives you that, you know, break from that गलत हुआ. And unconsciously वो हो रहा है. And then the second thing that you talked about, you know, कि जब आप किसी को बताते हो कि आपकी ये strength है, I think that's very powerful. जैसे I have a 5-year-old kid, तो मैंने उसके साथ देखा है कि जब पहली बार you know he won something, there was a different confidence in him for that particular thing. So जैसे he has a lot of friends and you know I keep telling him कि I don't know how you are able to make you know so many friends. Now his self talk is मैं तो बहुत फ्रेंड्स बना लेता हूँ, है ना मम्मा, मैं बहुत फ्रेंड्स बना लेता हूँ ना, मैं कितनी जल्दी फ्रेंड्स बना लेता हूँ ना. मैंने कहा हाँ बेटा बहुत जल्दी बना लेता हूँ, मुझे तो पता नहीं कैसे इतनी जल्दी कैसे फ्रेंड्स बनते हैं. You are very good at it. He has internalized it कि this is my strength. So I think जब आप किसी को बता देते हो कि ये आपकी strength है, it actually plays subconsciously in a way and you start doing more of it.
In fact, that is one of the things that we do in coaching. And when we, like I said ना कि शुरुआत तो पहले identifying strength, मतलब knowing strengths की बात है. The next step is this, where you know you actually tell people around you कि आपकी strength है. Like by observing, like घर पे अगर आप observe कर रहे हो, whoever it is, maybe it's a mother and she is doing something and whatever, and then you know, and she is dealing with say domestic health, जो भी किया उन्होंने, and she say, mama, how यार आप तो कितने fair हो यार, you are being so you know fair with everybody. That has another level of you know sense of pride, if I may use that word. That, and so in the coaching that we do, we coach people to actually say it out to people. So one step is to tell people, observe people and then call out their strengths, because they might not have really even thought about it as strength.
Correct.
तो ये 24 के 24 है जो आपको पता है नाम अलग जो भी है. If you can identify, oh my God, ये किया है तो ये strength यहाँ पे you know is getting demonstrated, and calling it out works wonders. Same applies to your own self. You can also tell that to yourself, and then it's a transformative. That's a very very transformative process really. So learning to identify, learning to name it is also a matter of practice. But again, what that means is now you're looking at the things that are working.
Correct. That's very interesting. And मतलब काफी different है from positivity that we talk about. अच्छा सोचो, अच्छा सोचो, अच्छा सोचो. Because I think if you ask me, and I ask a lot of guests on that, toxic positivity, कि जो चीज है भी नहीं, बस आपको अच्छा बोलना है. And then you're like, it is not resonating with me. मतलब I'm saying ठीक है सब बोल रहे हैं बोलना है, but it's not resonating with me.
In fact, that it's quite the contrary. उल्टा है यहाँ पे तो we don't talk about if there is something not going well, we actually identify and say that yeah, this is making me feel जो भी है emotion, a lot of anxiety. Yeah, I'm feeling sad about it. And then whatever action gets done, you say, but I used XYZ strength, I used trust, I used courage to deal with this thing that happened. So you use strengths to be resilient and work on whatever is not working well for you. So it is not about dismissing or shoving the negative things under the carpet. On the contrary, it is about facing it up front and using your strengths so that you can overcome it slowly.
Yeah, quite interesting. Because अब जब ये बोल रहे हैं तभी मेरे दिमाग में बहुत सारे there are a lot of things happening कि अच्छा हाँ कैसे मतलब for the same problem two different people might have very two different solutions depending on what strength they have. So it's not really about outcome, it's more about for them it's the process, and it can be two very different processes and nothing wrong and right with
both
that.
processes
It's more,
are right.
Yes, it's more about your own strengths and going with your strengths to identify the solution to it.
Absolutely.
And it's a very good way as well, because if I talk about corporates, I guess most of the time when we talk about having a diverse team, it's very easily said than done, because even the hiring managers, they are actually hiring people like them, exactly like them, because when you go for interview process, it's like, what do you like about them? It's exactly your qualities that you like, and you in the end your entire team is like you, right? There's no diversification. Everyone is saying the same thing that you say. So I think even from that perspective, it's very very helpful that you actually look for their strengths and push them to.
I wish everybody could do this test before they come and give the interview. I mean, actually, come to think of it.
Correct. Because you're right. I mean, the chances of doing better are much more as compared to just looking at a CV and saying, okay, you have done this qualification, you'll be able to.
And in fact, as an interviewer, you can see the strengths and see, okay, these are the top strengths. Does it align with the role that we have? And therefore, then actually ask questions around that and see how it works, and all of that can happen. So then the fitment is more real and relevant then, rather than looking at qualifications, because qualifications don't show anything.
Correct.
In terms of, because finally on ground what you are doing is based on what your strengths are. Qualification is knowledge, which you can get from anywhere.
Correct. And जैसे positive thinking में ये बहुत बात होती है about money, that you attract money. So is there anything around money with positive psychology?
Well, I guess when one starts looking at everything as, so let's look at the correlation or linkages. Money आता कहाँ से? When you do work properly and you start keeping your eyes open for opportunities, or do not fear and go ahead and take risks. If all those things happen, then money will follow also. अब ये करने के लिए अगर आपको strengths आपकी पता है and you can start using those strengths, then yes, you will attract money. But not by thinking positive, okay, let me attract money. No, that's not what's going to happen. You are going to act. So that's what we say in positive psychology. It's both. It is being the strengths and doing also. तो दोनों चीजें हैं, being and doing. कोई चीजों में it's only being, कोई चीजों में it's only doing. और यहाँ पे दोनों चीजें होती है. and because दोनों चीजें होती है, the outcomes are aligned towards what you want, and it's an ever evolving, ever growing process. It's like this. It's a building up process rather than winding down process.
एंड किसी को जैसे अगर अपने पर्सनल गोल्स डिफाइन किए हैं किसी ने एंड दे वांट टू अचीव इट, हाउ कैन दे यूज पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी एंड ऑल दीज टूल्स दैट आर अवेलेबल to achieve those goals?
Perfect question. I really like this question because I keep talking about this to everybody. Is if you have a goal, whatever goal it is, pehle to, I mean, it's a process. Okay, if you have a goal, clearly it means that to reach that goal there are certain things that you need to do. तो पता होता है कि ये चीजें करनी पड़ेगी तब जाके ये गोल अचीव होगा. अब ये सब चीजें करने के लिए मुझे कौन से स्ट्रेंथ्स की जरूरत है. ओके, तो यू मेक दोस. ओके, ये करेज की जरूरत है, ट्रस्ट की जरूरत है, टीम वर्क की जरूरत है, लीडरशिप की जरूरत है, व्हाटएवर इट इज, क्यूरियोसिटी की जरूरत है, क्रिएटिविटी की जरूरत है. तो मेक अ लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दैट. नाउ लुक एट दोस एंड लुक एट योर प्रोफाइल एंड सी इनमें से टॉप कौन से है मेरे, इसमें इनमें से मेरे सिग्नेचर स्ट्रेंथ्स कुछ है क्या. देयर मे बी 3-4 जो है, बाकी तो मे बी नीचे के स्ट्रेंथ्स है. देन ऊपर के जो है, यू डोंट हैव टू वरी बिकॉज यू विल स्टिल डू इट. You may want to look at the ones which are lower, and if those are strengths which you have to reach the goal, then you might have to start strengthening those strengths very consciously. And then there are interventions to sort of, you know, make them use them more frequently, so that you get trained to use those strengths. तो पूरे आपका स्ट्रेंथ का जो सेट है, जो आपको चाहिए टू रीच दैट गोल, those start getting robust. That means slowly you will be able to reach that goal also, because then you will be able to do the things in a way which works best for you to reach the goal. So it's a very good way of really achieving our goals, working with our strengths and not randomly हवा में तीर मारना कि मुझे ये तो करना है के लिए क्या क्या हम यूज कर सकते हैं. So strengths can be used in every sphere of life, every single place you can do this.
Interesting. Because you know this term that you need to use your strength बहुत loosely use होता है. हर कोई बोलता है कि you know you need to use your strength, but frankly speaking nobody tells how to do that.
Yeah.
It's just that use your strength, use your strength.
Yeah. And क्या issue ये हो जाता है ना, yeah, use your strength less. Okay. अब एक तो मुझे पता ही नहीं है मेरे strengths क्या है. जहाँ तो मैं I might have some vague idea क्योंकि मेरे strength is I am a people's person.
Correct.
Whatever. मतलब हमारा general understanding. But when we are going in a very structured manner here, we actually know that मेरे पास it's like, you know, मेरे जैसे quiver full of arrows होते हैं ना, वैसे quiver full of 24 strengths है. मेरे को जब भी चाहिए मैं जो चाहिए वो strength निकाल के use कर सकता हूँ या कर सकती हूँ. So once we know that I have 24, I am not worried. क्योंकि हर एक चीज मैं यूज कर सकता हूँ. If I am not using it enough, I will use it more often by finding out ways to use it more often, so that मुझे practice भी हो जाए and it gets internalized. Then I can do it. It makes you feel so much in control then. Just imagine you have a backpack full of strength, or everywhere you go.
Correct.
सब कुछ है मेरे पास, तो डर ही नहीं है ना.
Correct.
Yeah, because हमारे स्ट्रेंथ क्या है हम बोलने लगते हैं, तो दैट मीन्स मेरे पास ये 4 स्ट्रेंथ है, बाकी तो कुछ नहीं है मेरे पास. देन मेरे 10 वीकनेसेस है.
आई थिंक वो उल्टा वाला ज्यादा होता है. अरे वीकनेस ही इतनी ज्यादा मेरे अंदर.
या
मतलब उसके पास देखो ये वाला भी है.
या व्हाई ऑफ कोर्स कंपैरिजन इज द अदर थिंग. But when you actually look at profiles, then even this comparison goes for a toss, because then your profile is your profile, my profile is my profile, your DNA is different, my DNA is different. वो तो क्वेश्चन नहीं करेंगे ना, why is my DNA not like yours? हर एक का DNA डिफरेंट है, फिंगरप्रिंट अलग है. So the profile is like a fingerprint.
Interesting. And you know, मतलब जैसे अभी पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी के बारे में समझा, बट क्या कोई स्केप्टिसिज्म है जो आपने इसके अराउंड सुनी है?
Lots, because again the same thing which we have been speaking about, this positivity, think positive. So a lot of people don't understand that when we are talking positive psychology, we are not talking think positive. क्योंकि ये वर्ड ही ऐसा है ना, इतना वो उसका मिसयूज हुआ है ना, इट्स बीन यूज्ड वेरी लूजली एवरी सिंगल प्लेस में. तो इस वजह से एक तो वो स्केप्टिसिज्म है. दूसरी बात ये है कि पीपल डोंट नो दैट whatever is being said here has been researched. It's evidence based, scientifically researched, what do you say, topics or concepts. जो and it's despite the fact it's so fairly new, this thing बहुत सारा research हुआ है around this. आप ढूंढने जाओ तो बहुत मिलेगा कुछ कुछ. तो वो लोगों को पता नहीं है. तो unless and until you talk about it more, वो मेन स्ट्रीम में उसको जो जितना एक्सेप्टेंस मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं मिलता है. पीपल ऑल्सो स्टार्ट थिंकिंग, सी जब हम बात करते हैं साइकोलॉजी, फर्स्ट थिंग पीपल थिंक अबाउट इज स्ट्रेस.
करेक्ट.
समथिंग टू फिक्स.
हाँ, कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, उसको सही
प्रॉब्लम है. तो ये माइंडसेट जब तक चेंज नहीं होगा तब तक ये पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी पे बिलीव भी नहीं लोग करते कि so this concept of thriving only is far away. I think the concept of surviving ज़्यादा है. Thriving तो आगे की बात है. तो लोग वहां तक पहुंचने के पहले यहाँ रफा दफा कर देते, यार सर्वाइविंग ही नहीं हो रहा है, कहाँ थ्राइविंग करेंगे. But people don't realize that if you do this, you will move from surviving to thriving. But enough probably visibility है नहीं, इतना सेंटर स्टेज मिलता नहीं है. इसकी वजह से ये इसके बारे में लोग people there is a lot of skepticism around it. People don't think. अभी जैसे if I would have just told you, अच्छा ये without explaining कि आप हर रात ये 3 good things लिखो, ओके, ऐसे ये कॉलम में लिखो, what will you say? ये से क्या होने वाला है?
Correct.
But yes, it is shown to do a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. And frankly speaking, before our conversation, I was actually expecting that only कि आप हमें 5-6 चीजें बताओगे कैसे काइंड होने से कितना अच्छा होता है, लाइफ अच्छी हो जाती है, एंड कैसे if you think positive, good things start flowing to you, gratitude रखना चाहिए चीजों के लिए, तो how things happen to you. And in fact, the questions that we had are completely different from the ones we are discussing. So it's like, I mean, it's very, very different, very logical, if you ask me, for me as a person, कि अगर आप अपनी strength से जाएंगे, and these are something that are there with you. ऐसा भी नहीं आपको कहीं से लेकर आनी है आपके पास already. And can positive psychology be used for more serious mental issues as well?
So yeah, I mean, in the sense, it has been known to, I mean, as a supplement, when we are doing other therapeutic methods, जैसे BT कर रहे हैं और कोई मेथड यूज कर रहे हैं, तो ये काफी लोग साइड बाय साइड यूज करते हैं to as a how do you say, supporting methodology. पॉजिटिव साइकोथेरेपी पर से ऑल्सो लोग यूज करते हैं. उसमें अलग अलग डिफरेंट इंटरवेंशन होते हैं टोटली. एंड स्टडीज अगेन हैव शोन दैट पीपल हैव डिप्रेसिव सिम्टम्स कम हुए हैं, स्ट्रेस सिम्टम्स कम हुए हैं. So one can use it, yes, and there are lot more work is being done in that space. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, it has been used. जहाँ पे serious mental illnesses हैं, obviously medication, all of that is there, but it is a supportive therapy which really works wonders. It just sort of how do you say, fastens the process, hastens the process. So yes, one can use.
Interesting. And you spoke about positive psychotherapy. What is that?
So again, it's a very structured way of approaching therapy using positive psychology concepts like strengths, character strengths, and PERMA model, and appreciative inquiry. That means really looking at appreciating things in the in the workplace bolo या families bolo. So actual structured way of doing things using mindfulness also, so that you are using mindfulness becomes very critical. I personally use mindfulness a lot because when we are talking about using strengths intentionally or consciously, learning to be mindful becomes important, because that's how you will actually consciously do it in the present moment using the strength. So using mindfulness in positive psychotherapy is another thing that that gets used because it's so structured. So it's like a process. There are worksheets, proper worksheets using these concepts. हाँ, अलग अलग चीजें, जैसे मैंने इंटरवेंशंस की बात करी ना, तो यू कैन एक्चुअली गिव स्पेसिफिक इंटरवेंशंस फॉर स्पेसिफिक character strengths which are not being used very frequently. So therapy में अगर there are certain therapeutic goals that are set, क्योंकि I'm struggling with this and I want to reach there, then we look at the profile and say, okay, for this these are the strengths that will help you reach this therapeutic goal, and let's see, why is it that we are unable to do this, and let's look at how you can practice so that you can strengthen this particular character strength and then use it here. So yeah, that's a completely well structured therapeutic approach.
कुछ एग्जाम्पल होगा आपके पास इसका जो आप अभी एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं कि कैसे
So just say, how should I say this? Okay, for example, चलो स्टूडेंट की बात ले लेती हूँ मैं. So somebody comes, I mean, like a student comes to you and say 10th standard student, चलो मान लो, who is very anxious because unable to remember things, overwhelm हो रहे हैं, एग्जाम के ऊपर एग्जाम आ रहे हैं, क्लासेस भी जा रहे हैं, they are feeling very very stressed. Okay, and then maybe the therapeutic goal is to feel little more relaxed so that they will be able to do their studies a little, not better, but at least they will be able to focus, for example. That's maybe the goal, or reduce the stress. अब इस मामले में usually a structured way of doing these things is maybe in the beginning, and for a person who does not know anything about positive psychology or character strengths for that matter, we start by actually giving, there is this method that we say, we ask them to introduce themselves, and we say that it's called positive introduction. So positive introduction is, we tell them, okay, I know your name and everything, but now you introduce yourself on the basis of, go back in time, think of any situation that you faced which was difficult, and you went through it and somehow you overcame it, however you overcame it, and then there was a positive outcome of it, and you tell this to us or tell this to me as a story, like a story where there is a beginning, there is a middle, and there is an end. Okay, तो पूरी story आपको मुझे बतानी है अपने बारे में. So they come back and they think about it, and then they will tell us whatever story has happened, वगैरह 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 वगैरह. Now this itself now is the beginning of them starting to look into things that they have done, which are maybe something which is appreciating or inspiring, or something to be very proud of. Okay, a lot of people talk about, okay, whatever. I was supposed to, I was picked up for a theater or play or something, and I've never ever done it before, and I was shit scared, but I was picked up and I couldn't say no, and so that's the beginning of the story. And then how middle of the story is rehearsal work. I was pathetic and I couldn't remember my lines, and then the end of the story is, and all of this happened, but I couldn't back out because there was no scope of me backing out. So then I finally found out ways to learn my things in parts so that I remember things, because that was a struggle for me, and then how I did it, and how finally the entire the performance happened. Now, in narrating the story, the person starts experiencing their own strengths very viscerally, very almost like they come face to face with their strengths right there in the first session itself. And then from there, we slowly build it up and say, okay, so what did you learn about yourself here? And then slowly from there, probably we'll move on to asking them to do for the next session, maybe to do the via strengths and sending us the profile. And then making sense of it, or maybe looking at the first strengths, and then say, okay, these are your top strengths. And then you go back and tell me, when did you use your strength of curiosity last? And then they will tell us a narrative. So everything is based on their own life and their own experiences. Nothing is from anywhere else. So we just work very closely with their own history, baggage, and then move from there. तो अब अगर वो ये करते करते ना the person has come with the thing that मुझे अपना goal जो भी है I need to be relaxed and concentration and जो भी है. Then slowly you will move to that. Okay, now you want concentration. Now after some time the person is very comfortable with about talking about character strength. So typically क्या होता है ना when we move from session to session, the way we talk also changes. We start using more character strength words. So we start using strength-based language. Very deliberately. मतलब मैं भी deliberately बोलूँगी अरे यार my God you were really very inquisitive there यार I mean मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा खोद के किया हुआ curious. So you start using these kind of words and the person also starts using it and gets used to using these words. Then slowly we say okay now we are talking about you reaching that. What is it that what are the strengths you think are required for this? So जो भी आएगा उसमें what the person only says, and then because we have done some little work before, then we'll say probably you know you were talking about that particular story and this is a strength that you have used there, and that means you know are fairly familiar with it. Do you think you can use it here? Is it going to be possible? And that person might say कि maybe थोड़ा बहुत कर सकता हूँ. Then maybe you can say okay, but for that thoda bahut to become little more stronger, then what you need to do? Then probably they'll say कि okay, maybe for this इस strength के साथ अगर और एक strength XYZ you know curiosity वाली strength अगर जुड़ जाए तो maybe you know I will be able to do better. Then we start working on that strength, and then this strength and that strength, the other strength put together, you start moving towards the goal. So combination strengths also are there. Of course, now I'm going a little more like advanced, thoda sa aage, because yeah. So this is how we do things. So there are various dimensions to strengths also. So those are the higher or more aage ke thing. You know, every strength will have other dimensions, different dimensions also. So curiosity के भी अलग dimensions होते हैं. You know, fairness के भी अलग होंगे, courage के भी अलग होंगे. So yeah, and slowly then we reach there, and then we make our plans. Okay, for reaching this point of concentration, this strength plus this strength, तो इन दोनों को strong करते हैं धीरे धीरे, and then how to do it. Then interventions उनको बोलेंगे कि आपको ये करना है. Curiosity अगर चाहिए तो curiosity ऐसे ही नहीं तो maybe curiosity means curiosity, no, in every space. So then there'll be a activity, maybe an assignment where you say okay, 1 hour in every day. You will choose a space that you will go and you will really look at everything with great curiosity without judging it. Why is this happening? Why is this person talking like this? Why is this bird like this? So, you know, genuine curiosity. And learning to do that. And then slowly once you start doing that more often, then your that strength starts getting more powerful. And then you can then it will be very naturally used for then studies also, na?
Correct.
So yeah, that's like a simple example. I don't know whether that
yeah, that was pretty helpful. And you know, at times when someone is not motivated enough to do all of it, so what would be your way of going ahead with positive psychology?
I mean, see, motivation, if one sees how things are helping, एक तो वो थोड़ा सा इंस्पायर हो जाता है. I do a lot of self disclosure when I tell them how it has helped me, because it is something which people are not aware of. तो मैं खुद अपना मतलब बताती भी हूँ. I also give a lot of scientifically backed evidence for people. See, motivation नहीं होता है for 2 reasons. One, of course, there is skepticism. So skepticism के लिए you have to give evidence. The other is maybe clinically they do not feel like it. It could be depression, it could be anything, or they might feel like it's mumbo jumbo. अब वो mumbo jumbo के लिए भी evidence ही देने की जरूरत है. Then I have to give them a lot of resources. What I have found out is, as a good starting point when people are very skeptical or a little hesitant, I ask them to take the VIA character strengths test. And that test itself makes them feel so interested, because वो प्रोफाइल देख के ही वो दे आर लाइक ओ माय गॉड, इट्स लाइक अ पेपर का रिजल्ट आ जाता है ना, वैसा वाला चीज है. And you feel, अच्छा, really? But no, this doesn't seem to be the case. And then that thing, so then that thought, the thoughts start rolling. So that's a good point to start. Usually that's the trick I use. Sorry, but yeah, that's the trick I use to get them actually interested. Because finally it's about getting interested. ना अलग ही चीज़ है, नई चीज़ है. People अलग अलग जो approaches है बाकी के तो वो आम है. People know about it. People have heard about it. इसके बारे में इतना नहीं जानते तो हम ये थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा करना पड़ता है for them to get interested in it.
Correct. And also this is very specific to you. It's not about someone else, someone else's experiences. It's about your strengths.
Yeah, your strengths. कोई सी मतलब you don't have to compare yourself. You don't have to think अरे यार he got or she got better in whatever 3 months. मुझे भी ऐसे मतलब those kind of thoughts do not come because you are working with your strengths. You are working with the strengths and not your weaknesses. That's the other thing.
Correct. Interesting. And I mean, I don't have any further questions because I am completely sold.
Oh my God. You're going to take the test now.
Yes. And thank you so much, Gauri. I mean, I've learned a lot, like I said, and I was expecting something very different from this podcast, but what we have learned is, I mean, I am a very logical person, so it hit my logical chords, I would say. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure our audience, they would have learned a lot as well. And given this test is available online, I think all of us, we can just go and fill that up and see what our strengths are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gauri.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely talking to you.